Do you want to hear a joke? The French League. Seriously. I'm a little concerned about the French League, but I've always believed that the French League, Ligue 1, is a pretender. I think it is a wolf in sheep's clothing. It has big clubs. It has unbelievable fan support. And yet, it does not translate to the type of enduring success and appeal that the other four major leagues have, whether it be the Bundesliga, whether it be La Liga, whether it be Serie A, or obviously the Premier League. Ligue 1 has never punched at that level, right? Even if for a year or two it's coefficient when, Lyon and PSG make it to the Champions League semifinal on a random Tuesday, even if after that their coefficient maybe climbed ahead of, I don't know, the Bundesliga or Serie A for a year and then drop back down, Ligue 1 was never anything but the fifth league in Europe, right? And I would say it's probably a lot closer to the Portuguese league than it is to the Premier League. A lot closer. And the evidence is very clear in that the fact nobody wants to watch it. At least nobody in the world wants to watch it. According to RMC Sport, according to Center Goals, Ligue 1 have still not found a broadcaster for the upcoming season, which is already impacting teams. Newly promoted sides aren't able to sign new players due to a no budget cash receipts around match broadcasting. This is the latest in a long line of kind of embarrassing incidents around Ligue 1 and its TV broadcasting. Back in October, we had a report from The Athletic saying Ligue 1 broadcast rights auction scrapped as minimum valuation not met. The goal was to try and bring in $1 billion a year, which is 20% of what the Premier League is getting, right? 20% of their $5 billion a year deal. Ligue 1 could not get that. 20%. And that's with Kylian Mbappe in the league. Now, there might have been some concern, obviously, that he was looking set to leave even back in October. But at that time, he was still very much in the league. So there's no way they're going to get anywhere near that now that Kylian Mbappe is not in the league. And there just doesn't seem to be a global superstar in the league anymore. There's no Messi. There's no Neymar, right? I would say Ligue 1 is as starless as it has been in the past 10 years. And they were attempting to negotiate a billion euro deal, but they're definitely not going to get that. There are other headlines that have highlighted that this is a problem. According to the reporting in Sports Pro Media, the target's been abandoned, the billion euro target, with the league now hoping to obtain the same amount as its current agreements. Look, with the amount of money in TV deals that's going up in seemingly every league in the world, the fact that you end up in a position where you are hoping to get your money back, and according to that same article, I never really knew how to pronounce it. I've only ever just read it, so bear with me. But the boxing company that always puts on the Jake Paul fights is in pole position for Ligue 1's domestic TV rights. Things are not okay. In Ligue 1, honestly, in the short term, I don't actually know how it's going to try and change it. Because I do think this is a shame. Because Ligue 1 does have something to offer, and the fan culture is great, if a little overly violent and explosive, literally, with the pyrotechnics. But it is not easy to come back from this position. And Ligue 1, it says it's trying to break into the U.S. market. I'm going to be perfectly honest. I can't imagine one match in a Ligue 1 season that somebody in the U.S. market would be wanting to watch. Now, Ligue 1 execs blame that fact they were being sold on BN Sports, that's who their deal was with, and that just didn't have a lot of appeal in the U.S., but I don't believe that is the only reason. I think that the problems for Ligue 1 are very, very, very deep. And I think that the problem is once those problems became public, once you start to get the perception that nobody wants your TV rights, then it's, I don't want to say embarrassing for somebody to get your TV rights, but it definitely doesn't help Ligue 1 in the negotiating room when it becomes very clear that nobody actually wants to put these Ligue 1 matches on TV. Even the domestic TV rights have been a bit of a mess, and I would imagine they're a mess because they're trying to recoup some of their losses in the international TV market. But the success of a league in modern times is very simple. The success of a league in modern times is almost entirely dependent on how much money that they are bringing in from TV rights. And this loss in the TV market is going to separate the French league and send it adrift. Where the Premier League is rising, where La Liga is sustaining, where Serie A is kind of floundering financially, but still creating a bunch of successful clubs, where Bundesliga is the steadiest one because it's got the 50+1 share rule and votes for everything that's good for the game. Ligue 1 doesn't fit. I mean, when was the last appointment television game that was in Ligue 1. If I watched Ligue 1 games, sure, but when was the last time that you were there and amped up and fired up for a match in Ligue 1? Even when Lille was on a title race, it just didn't happen. There aren't the same characters. There isn't the same character development. It feels like the entire league is just a group of Dortmunds. Once a player gets good enough, they're gone. With the exception of PSG, who wasn't able to hang on to the best French player in the world. Now, I feel like they should have sold him for a bunch of money and tried to build up through their youth academy to, produce a bunch of superstars in the French national team and try to create some gravitas that way, because that seems to be their only option. I think Ligue 1, being a league full of Dortmunds, where they sell players once they get to a certain level, actually could be helpful for them for a while, because then at least you're creating this uber talented farm system and you can start to change the public narrative where people are looking at Ligue 1 going, hey, you want to watch Ligue 1, you want to watch the stars of tomorrow, and then hopefully you can have one of those talented young teams come together and make a run. Like, well, I guess Dortmund just did, even though Dortmund's not the youngest team ever anymore. Dortmund making that run all the way to the Champions League final, having a team like Nice, having a team like Lille be able to make a run like that and not just float around in the round of 16. But I'm just taking shots in the dark here, because like I said earlier, I have no idea what the solution is to that problem, right? If you don't have a broadcaster for the season that starts in 2 months, you're in a shit spot. I mean, think about how this affects FFP for the clubs, right? FFP, you have to have a very clear idea of the money that you're going to have coming in reliably, because you're also going to need to be calculating the money that you have coming in from happenstance, ticket sales, player sales, whatever. And in order to try and meet the requirements of that FFP, understanding what the type of, understanding the size of the check that you're getting from your TV rights is massively important. So it's not just the clubs that just got promoted. Everybody is now handicapped because they don't know how much they can spend, because they might spend a certain amount, and if the TV yield comes in underneath it, then underneath their projections, then all of a sudden they're going to be over FFP, even though they had no idea, they just spent based off what the previous TV deal was, and they had no idea. So you have to sit there and keep yourself restrained and wait for all of this to play out, and everybody that's negotiating in this situation, because the people that are negotiating TV deals are sharks. They know that Ligue 1 is bleeding, right? And if they wait longer, the price of the deal is going to go down, because Ligue 1 is going to need to sign a deal. They can't go into a season without a TV deal. They've waited too long. Whoever's in charge of the league waited too long. They turned down offers they're not going to get. I guarantee you they have probably turned down an offer that they are not going to get anything near it afterward, right? Because there is no incentive, if you're offering TV deals at all, to make a better TV offer for Ligue 1. You just be bailing them out. Ligue 1 is going to be sitting here bleeding to death slowly until this TV deal comes in. And even when it comes in, it's going to be embarrassing, right? And because it's embarrassing, players, agents, coaches are going to think of Ligue 1 as a second-rate league. And they'll be right. Ligue 1 had an era of pretending to be one of the big 5 leagues, but the truth is there's only 4. And there are people smarter than me that are going to have to figure out how to save Ligue 1 from spiraling away from league-wide relevance. Ligue 1 is also one of those leagues that's talked about playing a match in the United States, maybe trying to do tours going through the United States so that they can get their TV deals up. But I don't see any of this sort of stuff actually being able to work for Ligue 1 the short term. There is no short-term band-aid for this. There are only long-term plans and long-term solutions if Ligue 1 is ever going to try and get itself back up to the level where it feels like it is competing with the other 4 major leagues in Europe. But this is just the latest in a long line of signs proving that it's not.